everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today I've had so many requests, everyone asking me about Maya, what happened when Maya was born, like what sort of challenges does Maya face now, and I just have so many questions about Maya on my TikTok. So I thought I would do a whole video all about Maya from the start till I was pregnant with her to when she was born till now. So we're just gonna get into it. I'm gonna explain everything that happened. I've got a few things to show you as well from when she was born, and then also I'm gonna add some pictures onto this video so you can sort of see what I'm talking about, but we're just going to get straight into it. So we're going to start at my pregnancy. So my pregnancy was pretty good. I obviously found out I was pregnant with Maya, found out I was having another little girl because of course I already had 𝐂𝐤𝐢𝐴, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, I can put them in little matching outfits, and I was just so excited to have another little girl. And everything was fine until I got to around 18 weeks. I was waking up in the night and basically the bed was soaking wet. Not a little bit soaking wet, it was like massive puddles, like soaking wet. So of course I went to the hospital, sorry, and they done like, they're called speculums, so they have a look inside, see if they can see water's leaking, and if they get worried then I suppose they send you for a scan and all that. But every time I went to the hospital, and I went, like this kept happening over like the following weeks to come. This was happening like near on every night. I was just losing all this fluid. So they had a look in the speculum every single time I went, and every single time I went they kept saying I was wetting the bed, and I was like, but like surely I would know, or there would be like a scent to it, and they were just no, you're wetting the bed, there's nothing wrong, you're wetting the bed. And this kept happening, and then I kept obviously going into hospital, and they just kept sending me home, and just made me feel like it was all in my head, and like a little bit embarrassed as well, because I'm like, they're telling me I'm wetting the bed, and yeah. But anyway, so in the end I stopped going because I just kept getting sent home, and I just thought, well, if doctors are telling me I'm wetting the bed, then obviously that must be what I'm doing. Luckily my 20-week scan, you know, like your routine, you have a routine 20-week scan, came up. So went to that and everything was fine at first, and then the scan lady just started going a little bit quiet, and anyway a doctor came in and basically said that there was no waters around Maya, and what waters were left were like there was hardly anything, but waters sort of regenerate, like it's really complicated. But basically the doctor said to me that my only option was to have an abortion. If I was to continue with the pregnancy, I would be putting my life at risk, and the baby would have, like, I can't remember what he said, I think it was 20 or 25% chance of surviving, if that. I think at that point, when I was, because I think I was just coming up to 20 weeks, they basically said that the baby didn't really have any chance of surviving, and my best option was to have an abortion. Bearing in mind that I had felt Maya kick, and you know, like been to private scans, and like I could not, there was just no inch of me that was even, like it wasn't even in the, like it wasn't even an option to me. So of course I told the doctor, no, that's not going to happen, I'm not going to have an abortion, what will be will be. And I continued with the pregnancy, so I got admitted straight to hospital. I had to have steroid shots and all sorts, and then after a couple of days I went home and I was on strict bed rest, and I got sent home with these like thermometer things, and I had to always check my temperature, look out for signs of infection, so obviously fever, feeling sick, all that sort of stuff. And everything was going pretty well. I was having regular checkups, and then I hit 24 weeks. This is when it all got bad. So basically I woke up one morning and I didn't feel right, like I just felt really unwell, and I remember getting up and then I started to feel contractions, and I'm just thinking, oh my god, no. like, because I was just praying that we would get a lot more further gone than what we were. So of course went straight to the hospital and they said, yeah, you're in labour, done bloods and stuff, and I ended up having sepsis, so my infection markers were just sky high. So they said that they wouldn't do anything to stop the labour, that it's just too dangerous. And I was taken to labour ward, and I was told if Maya was to die while she was still inside me, they wouldn't wouldn't rush me round and get her out, like do a C-section, because they would just let her die naturally inside me because there wasn't really much hope. And then also that when she was born, if she came out looking like bruised or like not, I don't know how to explain it, but if she just came out not looking good, they wouldn't do anything to help her. They would just let her go naturally, like they just wouldn't do anything. So I was basically in labour thinking, I didn't really have any hope, because I just thought, gosh, like they're saying all these things to me. Like what hope do I have? Like I couldn't see how it was gonna end good. I just couldn't. And then of course she was finally born, and I was so, like, I can't even explain the fear I felt. I sort of looked down, and all I saw was this little skinny, like I've never seen nothing like it, just a foot. And I heard a squeak, like like the tiniest little squeak, and I couldn't see anything else apart from a foot. And then of course the doctors took her straight over to the bed, like the baby bed thing. And from that point I was screaming, crying, and this was going on for a good 20 minutes to half an hour, where I was just crying and screaming, because I just had in my head they were going to come over and tell me that she didn't make it, and I didn't want them to come and tell me that. So I was just crying, screaming, no, like and then finally they came over and they said to 𝐤𝐼𝐴's dad, do you want to take a picture for mum? So he went and got a picture and he showed me, and I just couldn't believe it. But even from the picture, it could not prepare you for when you see her in person. Like it just did not prepare me. Like, so they took her around to intensive care unit, of course, got her like all wired up to everything. Obviously when they were getting her like sorted in the bedroom in the hospital room, when they took her from me, they put the ventilator down. But when they took her around to intensive care, they just wired her umbilical cord and put all the like lines and stuff inside her. And yeah, so I got to see her probably about 4 hours to get her settled and sorted. And then I went round, and then as soon as I walked in, there was doctors all around me like, wash your hands, do this, do that. And I'm like, whoa, like I couldn't, like I was just a bit like taken back, like whoa, like it was just a whole, I've never been in an environment like that. And anyway, washed my hands, and there's these incubators everywhere, and I didn't know where mine was. I'm just like looking at all these incubators, and the babies looked pretty like all right size, and all the other incubators, and I'm like, and I didn't spot 𝐤𝐼𝐴. And then when they took me to 𝐤𝐼𝐴's incubator and I saw her for the first time, I just cried. I cried my eyes out. I could not believe how small she was. She was 1 pound 7 ounces, and I had never in my life seen anything so small. And I cried because all I thought in my head was, there is no way that I'm going to leave this hospital with my baby. She is not going to make it through this. I didn't even know before 𝐤𝐼𝐴 that babies could be born this early. Anyway, she, like day by day, she was getting stronger. I was pumping, and they took me in a room and they explained to me how important breast milk was and how it fights infections, like protects them from certain infections and stuff. It has antibodies in. So of course I pumped, and she was having my milk, and day by day she was having a bit more milk through a feeding tube. And then we hit another obstacle. So 𝐤𝐼𝐴's heart, she had a hole in her heart, and normally when a full-term baby's born, every baby's born with this hole, but it closes as soon as they're born. And 𝐤𝐼𝐴's wouldn't close, so they tried medicines and all sorts to close this hole up, and it wouldn't. So in the end, 𝐤𝐼𝐴 had to be transferred to another hospital to have an operation to close this hole up. I remember watching them take her, and I was just like crying. I literally got straight in the car and was headed straight over to the other hospital so I could be there, and I had to have loads of blood tests and all sorts ready for 𝐤𝐼𝐴's operation. I remember going in there just before she had her operation, and I was holding her little hand, and oh, it was awful. And I was so scared because I was just like, she's so small, and she's got to go and have this like massive operation now. They couldn't even take her into an operating room. They had to operate on her in the actual intensive care unit. So they had to put all these signs up and stuff, and they operated on her in the intensive care unit. It was crazy. Finally, the surgeon came to like the parent room, and I was just like just so scared at what he was going to say to me. But so basically he said that they nearly lost her in surgery because she lost so much blood, but they acted really fast and obviously saved her. I was just like, and then they just said like the next few days are like touch and go. So she stayed where she was for a few days, and then finally she just got better and better every day. It was just amazing to see. And then finally she got transferred back to her original hospital. And then the only other like thing that happened after that, like bad thing, was I remember I was at home and I had this really weird feeling that something just wasn't right. I went straight to the hospital. Doctors were like all coming up to me and they're like, don't be concerned, but they were like, so the line in Maya's leg had come out, like it was still inside her leg, but it had come out, and the liquid, like the chemicals that were obviously coming out of the line, went inside her, like to like her belly, and it burnt her from the inside out. She got burnt, like everything in her insides got burnt because of this line. And it's so weird because I had a feeling that something just wasn't right. Like mother's instincts and all that are always right, and I'm telling you, they're so right. But I want to show you just a couple of things from the hospital. So the hospital is so good, they give you everything to keep. So this was Maya's first hat, and you can see like it's so small, it's tiny. This was the first ever hat that she wore. When I first saw her, she had this little hat on. Absolutely amazing. These were her little, they even give you this sort of stuff. So like the stuff that, you know, checks her heart rate and stuff. This little teddy bear was like on her all the time. It used to sit on her, and then I used to use this bit to cover her up. So cute. And then they even do stuff like honestly, the hospital is so amazing. Like I enjoyed my first cuddles with my daddy on the 7th of the 3rd, 15th. This one says, I have been a star today because I managed a day so far off the ventilator. This one says, I have been a star today because I am a kilo. Absolutely amazing. I even kept Maya's first pair of shoes. How cute are they? Little bunnies on it. Maya's obsessed with bunnies still. They give you all this sort of stuff so you can keep it and like look back on it. They give you like the little arm rest things, so small. So in here are just more hats and stuff that she wore. Right guys, you are not gonna believe this, right? So when I first saw this, I was shocked, right? And I must have a picture somewhere. I'll try to find one of her with this in her mouth. So this was Maya's dummy that the hospital provides. Look how tiny it is. Like what? I could not believe it. Like when I saw it, like it just doesn't look real, does it? It doesn't. It's smaller than dolls' dummies. Like it's so small. I could not believe it when they gave me that. I literally have everything. I have the pregnancy bands from when I was in labour with her. I have the ventilator that was attached to her ventilator. I have her name tags. I literally have everything. But yeah, so then after that, she just got stronger and stronger every day. And then she got moved to high dependency ward. And from there, oh, it was so amazing because in intensive care, like that's where I had my first cuddle. But when you're having a cuddle and there's tubes, I was so scared because I was like, I don't want to hurt her, she's so small. But I had my first cuddle in the intensive care bit. And of course I could do like her nappy changes, but it had to be inside the incubator, and you had these two little doors where your hands could go in. It was just hard. You couldn't get like too close and stuff. So when she got moved to the high dependency ward, it was just so nice because I was able to be like really involved with her care. I remember like the nurses couldn't get rid of me. I was there all the time. And I never put her in her cot. I just always was just holding her all the time because I just didn't want to put her down. But in there I was able to feed her. I was able to change her nappy, get her clothes on. I was able to bath her, like I did her first baths in there. It was just amazing. And she spent a couple of weeks in there, and then I had to go in for training. So Maya had to come home on home oxygen. She had to be on oxygen. And yeah, I remember my first couple of nights at the hospital with her. So I'd done all my training, and then before you go home you have to stay in this room with the baby, so like you can show obviously you know what you're doing, you know how to like sort the oxygen and all that sort of stuff out. And it was, oh my god, it was so amazing. And then the day finally came that she could go home, and it was honestly, I will never ever forget that day. It was just the best day. So she finally came home and from that day it's just been, I can't even explain to you guys what it's been like. It's been amazing. Like I'm so blessed So yeah, she came home on oxygen. Of course, she had like community nurses coming out. We had like a lot of people involved, so like health visitors, speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, 3 different doctors. Like, it was, for the first couple of years, it was so full on. There was so many appointments, this, that, like, oh, it was absolutely just wild. Like, nothing could prepare me for what this journey was going to be like. So fast forward a couple of years, it was just, she was very behind, you know, that like appointments, stuff like that. But I want to get more into like now, the troubles Maya faces now. So when Maya was leaving preschool, her nursery advised special needs school. So me and her nursery worker went to see the school that Maya's at now. When I went there, I loved the school. I thought it was amazing, but I'd noticed a couple of kids swearing. And at that point, Maya wasn't even talking really then. And when you're not talking, you're learning, you pick up everything. And I was so concerned that Maya's gonna, her first words and stuff, it's gonna end up being swear words, or I don't know. It was just, but that wasn't the only reason that put me off. The other things were, I didn't want her to be so far away from me. Like, what if something happened and she's so far away, like it's not just around the corner? And then I also, of course, I wanted her to be with her, like be in school with her brother and sister. I didn't want her to be at a completely different school that's nowhere near us. And I like taking my kids to school. If Maya went to this school, I wouldn't be able to take her, she'd have to get transport. So I ended up going against the special needs school, and I really wanted to try her in a mainstream school. So Maya ended up going to the same school Ellie went to and the school Rome goes to. Ellie's in the juniors now, so that's why I say Ellie went to. So basically she went to the school, and within like the first few months the school was struggling. Like, her anxiety is really bad. Like, Maya couldn't cope with the noises in the school hall. It was all too much for her, so they would have to sit her in the office to eat her food. And there were points where in the mornings Maya was just running, like just didn't want to go to school that much, that she would scream, kick me, and then it got to the point where she would literally get out of my hand, and I had hold of her quite hard, like, so she couldn't get off me, and she would leg it and she would be gone. And everyone would have to chase her, like the teachers, and because her anxiety was just so bad. It's not her being naughty, she just has such bad anxiety. So Maya's name, I want to try and give you an example of how behind Maya is in her learning. Maya's just about to go to year 3. So Maya's name is spelled M-Y-A, that's 3 letters. Maya can't spell her name, that's where she's at now, and she's going into year 3. Maya is more behind than a preschooler. So her school was just like, there is no way that Maya would be able to cope in a mainstream junior school setting. There's no way. So then we had to go through getting her a place at, obviously, the special needs school that I'd seen previously. So we did that, but we had to wait for a space because the classes at the special needs school are a lot smaller. I think there's 6 to 7 in a class. It was all a very stressful time because Maya wasn't coping in her school. But finally, she got moved over to the school she's at now, and it's much better for her. Much better for her. The classes are smaller. She even has a swimming pool, guys. She loves going swimming. So she goes swimming on a Thursday. She absolutely loves it. And yeah, she's just a lot more settled. Like, her anxiety's gone down, like with school. Like because Maya has to get transport. So when the bus comes in the morning, I never have problems with her going off to school. She's happy to go. And then she gets dropped off in the evening, and she like tells me what she's been doing. And yeah, the school's like amazing, very good for her. It was the best thing that I'd done, and I sort of beat myself up now because I'm like, why didn't I just send her there in the beginning? But I can't change the past. So the problems that Maya faces now, so everyone always asks what's wrong with Maya, what's Maya's diagnosis? So I'm currently waiting for an ADOS assessment that assesses if Maya has autism, and it's not just for autism, they diagnose all sorts of things like that. So we're waiting for that. We've been waiting 2 years because of COVID. I missed an appointment, and it's just, honestly, it's a nightmare. It was my fault, but yeah, I need to get all that sorted. So we're waiting for an ADOS assessment because our doctors think she has autism and a couple of other things. So the things that Maya has been diagnosed with, she has sleep apnea, joint hypermobility, so she can't walk too far and things like that, like her joints start hurting, her legs start hurting. She has chronic lung disease, so because Maya was born early and because she had the ventilator down for so long, Maya's lungs were even worse than what a 24-week baby's would have been because she had no waters, and the waters are in my womb. She had no waters. That's what they practiced to breathe with, so she didn't have any of that. That's why they gave her 25 50% chance of surviving when she was born because her lungs were even more damaged than what a normal 24-week baby would be. So she has chronic lung disease, she has open access to oxygen, she has inhalers when she gets cold and stuff like that, because like to help open her lungs and stuff. She has a problem with one of her ears and a problem with one of her eyes. One of her ears doesn't pick up the quieter sounds, but they're still having tests done on that. Speech and language delay. She has global development delay still, like she's delayed in all areas. Yeah, I've probably forgotten a few things, but they are the main like things. Oh, and she has severe anxiety. Like her anxiety is very, 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 very bad. Like it's I've never seen anyone with anxiety as bad as Maya. It can be a noise that she doesn't recognize, she will panic. And if you haven't got hold of Maya, you haven't got hold of her hard, say we're next to a road and she hears a sound that she doesn't recognize, she wouldn't think twice to run into a road where there's moving cars going fast. She wouldn't think about it. She doesn't have any sense of danger at all. The only sort of fear I see in Maya is if she sees stuff that she like dogs and things like that, but as in like sense of danger, as in like she sees a car move and things like that. So she has really, really, really bad anxiety. She's terrified of doctors, terrified of hospitals, dentists, everything like that. And it's crazy because it's like, I think, how would she remember, like, because most of like the really extreme things happen when she was a baby. The only things that happen sort of now are like she have to have lots of jabs in the colder months to protect her lungs. But yeah, and she always, like, whenever she has blood tests, she always has low white blood cells and another one, I forgot what it's called. Basically what that means is Maya's more prone to catching things and getting sick. So if Ellie was to get a chest infection and Maya was to get a chest infection, Ellie would just need antibiotics so it would clear. For Maya to get a chest infection, she could have it and be fine, but she could also have it and it could be in intensive care again. It's like that's how damaged her lungs are. So yeah, that's Maya's story, guys. I hope that like explains everything that happened, like what's sort of going on now. Maya is an amazing, amazing little girl. She's been through so much in her little life. She is amazing. And let me tell you something about Maya, she's always happy. If you're on my TikTok lives and stuff, you'll see all the time she's always laughing, she's always happy. So before I had Maya, as you can tell in that story, I never had hope with her. I never ever had hope. So Maya's name is now Maya Hope, because Maya taught me no matter what situation you're in, right, no matter what it is, even if, right, like I had no hope at all that Maya would survive when I saw her. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It doesn't matter what situation you're in, I'm telling you guys, always keep hope, always have hope, always believe. Amazing things happen. Maya was born at 24 weeks. I was advised to have an abortion because she had no chance, from what doctors were telling me. Even when I was in labour, she didn't really have any chance. She is now 7 years old, guys, and she's thriving and she is doing amazing every day. Absolutely amazing. She is a true fighter. She is a miracle. She is an absolute miracle. So I will take any little things that's wrong with Maya. I will take the bad behaviour. She's so hard to deal with, but I will take all of that. I'm just lucky that she's here. So my thing to you guys is always have hope, always believe, because honestly, dreams come true, they really do. And I'm just so thankful every day that I didn't have to bury my kid and my daughter's still here with me, and I didn't have to go through, I went through hard, like it was the worst time of my life, like sitting there watching every day, like, is my baby gonna survive? Like getting scared to get close to her because I'm just so worried that something's gonna happen. Not being able to sleep, I couldn't eat, like it was the worst time of my life. It was awful. But look where we are now. She's 7 years old. She's 7 years old, guys. She's amazing. But that's my story, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope that answers all your questions you had. Guys, if you're not following our Instagram or our TikTok or our Facebook, please go follow it. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube, what are you doing? Get subscribing, guys. But don't forget to click like, guys. Thank you all for watching. Love you all. Bye.